Hello everyone, welcome to iLearn's Theory of Prelims 2.0. This particular program aims at helping the aspirants across the country in their prelims preparation in a very systematic manner. Actually, what we are aiming at is you will be given general sessions on tips and tricks, strategies and techniques for solving prelims question, and also this course also includes subject specific sessions where the faculty will be explaining the techniques with respect to each subject, a particular topic, and also the most probable questions for prelims 2020. So we are providing you a study plan at this last stage of prelims preparation so that you could complete the revision process in a very systematic manner. So let me start with the first session. This session deals with tips and tricks, strategies and techniques for solving objective type questions. Now this session I have divided into two parts. The first part dealing with the 5 important aspects that actually helps aspirant in cracking prelims examination. The first part gives a better idea of what questions to attempt, what questions to leave, and how to manage time better in examination hall, how to avoid silly mistakes, and also I shall give you a brief idea regarding the repeated topics that has been asked in the examination. Now the second part, the most important part, the tips and techniques. Now this particular part actually gives you the techniques and tips for solving questions logically, how you can take the help of or how you can use creative approach in solving prelims question. So as you know that prelims is a test of recognition. That means you need to recognize the right answer from the given choice. So it is not as easy as said, but with the help of these tips and techniques, that is 5 important techniques I have mentioned here. One is rotten tomato and possibility enhancer, statement consistency, conflicting statement, common sense and intuition, and linguistic deductions. These techniques will help aspirant to recognize the correct answer from the given choice. Alright. Now let us start with the first part, cracking prelims. I have already told you we have 5 important aspects with respect to streamlining the general preparation very effectively. Now your prelims preparation should be in such a way that the time you come out of the examination hall, you should be able to find yourself well above the cutoff. That should be the level of preparation you should have. Now for this, the first aspect which is given here, or the first aspect which I am talking about is knowledge. Now you should attain a threshold level of knowledge. Like every examination, UPSC civil service examination demands a threshold level of knowledge. This comes only by reading standard textbooks and authentic current affairs. You know that prelims examination is all about basics with a lot of clarity. Now you are into last stage of preparation. At this stage, I am not asking you to acquire more knowledge except for some important topics. What I am trying to say is, if you have not read a particular current affair magazine, at this particular stage I am not asking you to read that, it is not necessary. At this stage what is important is selective reading. That means you don't have to read the entire book, but you have to read the chapters selectively. Getting it? You should be clear about what to read. You can analyze the data sheet, the summary of data, the trends in data logically. Try to remember the facts or try to revise the facts. So that is actually very important at this last stage of preparation. Now, another important aspect with respect to knowledge is identify the weak areas and the strong areas. Now, the question is how to identify weak areas. I hope that you have been taking test series for the past 6 to 7 months. So the weak areas can be identified based on the result of the test series. So try to learn from the mistakes of the practice test, analyze the results of each test series, and try to identify the weak areas and start working on that. So the key point is, or the nutshell point is, always keep reading. Just keep reading whatever you can, even if it is very little. Read whatever you can. Give your best for the next few days. Read the basic textbooks, read the NCERT textbooks, go through the test series papers, previous year question papers, class notes, etc. I am sure that all of you will be clearing the prelims. Alright. Now coming to the second part, that is the skill. Now I told you prelims is a test of recognition. Prelims is not about information overload. It is about confidence. It is about temperament. It is about attitude. You need to develop certain skills. Now regarding the skills, you need to develop certain tips and techniques. So that I will be discussing in detail with examples from the previous year UPSC question paper in the next part. So we'll have a general discussion here regarding the skill. You need to understand one thing, prelims is actually a mind game. It is an art. It is actually the application of knowledge. So the most important thing is you should have conceptual clarity. That is the most important. Now, once you get the question paper in the examination hall, what should be your strategy? What skill you need to utilize? Now, the most important thing in this particular aspect is the science of iterations. Now, that means how many times you are going through the question paper. In ideal case, you should get 3 iterations. The first iteration you can take more than 1 hour. The second iteration around 25 to 30 minutes. And the third iteration, the remaining time like 20-15 minutes or 15-20 minutes. If you are not getting time for 3 iterations, make it 2 at least. Now, if you see the question paper, if you go through the prelims question paper, you can actually grade the questions into 3. That means sure shots will be there that can be solved using your factual knowledge. Then you have intermediate level questions. That means that can be solved using factual knowledge, plus you need to apply logic, you need to think a bit more. And the third category includes the tough questions with no factual knowledge. Now what I would suggest is, sure ones you can complete in the first round, the logical ones you can complete in the second round, and the tough ones you can go through in the last. Now one thing you need to understand is the tips, the techniques, strategies or these skills for solving objective type questions. This cannot be developed all of a sudden. It will take time, and also practice is very much required for developing this particular skill. Alright. Now regarding the specific skills, the specific tips and techniques, we'll talk about in detail in the second part. Now the third aspect is confidence. Now you are in the last phase of prelims preparation, and please understand that this last phase is a phase of self-doubt or confusion, anxiety. The one thing which I want to emphasize here is prelims is all about unpredictability. Now at this particular stage, at this last stage, everyone will be having a fear in mind that how can I remember all the points which I have studied in the last 1 year. It is not going to be that easy, but believe that you can do it. Everybody has done it before. Everybody has gone through the same phase, same frustration, same doubt, same struggle, but it's all worth at the end. So give your best in the next few days, and always understand, always remember that just being frustrated or just being fear or just being panicky is going to take everything away from you. So it should not happen. So remove that fear from your mind and be focused. So give your best for the next few days, and don't keep worrying about what more you could have studied. Instead, you should use this valuable time to revise the important topics. Alright. Now, another important thing which I want to tell you is, don't get carried away with the significance of that big day. If you are unable to do the first 10 questions, then be confident that you should be able to do the rest of the questions. And don't compare yourself with any other person, because comparison will hamper your confidence. Alright. So always remember that if the question paper is difficult, then it will be difficult for all. Automatically the cutoff will go down. So be confident, and also every year, please understand, please remember that every year UPSC will provide, the examiner will provide sufficient number of questions, maybe around 60-65 questions, so that any serious aspirants can easily qualify. So your job is to try to pick out those questions and answer those questions correctly. Alright. So stress and anxiety will make these answers wrong. So remove the stress from your mind, and there is no reason to panic. Have faith in you and keep on studying, or continue studying as per the demand of this particular examination. Alright. Now another important aspect is avoiding silly mistake. Now every year the competition is increasing, and many times the single mark would decide the result. So it is very important that you are actually making the easy questions or intermediate level questions correct. So you should keep certain things in mind to avoid silly mistakes. Now the most important thing is over-excitement on non-question. Now what happens is, if you are over-excited, this would blind your brain, and we may answer without completely understanding the requirement of the question. So if the question asked in the examination, in the prelims paper, is similar to the question you have already practiced, you always will have, or you always attempt to solve it very quickly, or tend to solve it in the same way. So there is very much chance of missing the twist given in that particular question, and you will get wrong there. So my request is, you treat all the questions equally. Even if the question is very simple, read it 2 times like you do for the other questions. Okay, so don't get overexcited on the non-question. The next important thing is overspending time on one question. Then please remember that you won't be able to complete the question or complete the question paper. So stick to your division of time. Always remember that our aim is to clear prelims, not to prove our ability to solve difficult questions. Alright. Now, to avoid a silly mistake, another important thing is, you need to mark the keywords given in a particular question. You need to read the question twice and mark the important keywords. For example, which of the following statements are correct or not correct, increasing or decreasing order, arrange from west to east or east to west. So such type of confusions, you should not get confused with these keywords. So read the question and the statements given in the question carefully and twice. And also you need to check for the important keywords. Now, maybe in history questions, you will be getting chronological chronological order questions. So don't do any mental calculation with respect to chronological order question. You write it down in your question paper, arrange it in chronologically, spend some time on that particular question, and then you will get it correct. Okay, so avoiding silly mistakes is very important, because many times even a single mark would decide your result. All right. Now another important thing is knowing your opponent. Now the question is, how to know your opponent? We know that there is no defined syllabus for prelims. For mains examination, we have a well defined syllabus, very well demarcated syllabus. So the source of information is the previous year question paper. So the most important thing is you need to understand, you need to analyze the previous year question paper. I would recommend you to go through the question paper from 2011 to 2019, and this will actually help you to identify the most repeated topics. For example, map question, environmental organization based question, questions on reports and indices. Now when we talk about map question, UPSC always repeatedly ask question related to what? Middle East, the combination, the town city combination, or sea bordered by the countries. Alright, now environment organization, I told you it's another important area from which UPSC asks questions repeatedly. Now once you study the environment organization, you need to be very clear regarding the objectives of the organization, because and if you go through the different organizations, the organizations will have overlapping objective. So if you want to logically remember it, or if you want to remember it, what I would suggest is you need to understand the objectives, or you need to understand the factor which differentiate one organization from the other organization. Otherwise what happens is, if one keep on mugging up the important objectives, that won't actually serve the purpose in prelims examination. All right, so just I'll give you some important topics which are repeated every year, and the detailed analysis regarding this repeated topic as well as the most probable topics will be done by the faculty, the subject experts, in the coming sessions. Now if I talk about some important areas, I can talk about any topics related to Arctic and Antarctica. Then UPSC repeatedly asked questions related to new technologies. For example, questions on Internet of Things or organic LEDs. Questions on wetland. It is another important area which is repeated every year. Now another important topic is, or another important question which is repeated is the question related to bio-related terms. Bio-related terms, for example, or I can say the words with prefix bio. For example, bio-toilets, bio-remediation, bioinformatics, biofuels. Now WTO is another important topic, another important favorite topic of UPSC. Now with respect to polity, as you know, Parliament chapter is important, DPSP, fundamental rights, fundamental duties, and also special provisions for weaker sessions. So all these are actually some important topics where the examiner used to ask questions repeatedly every year. Alright, so the most important thing is, I would recommend you have to go through the question paper, question paper from 2011 to 2019. Give 2 hour time to solve the question. After solving the question, go through each question and try to understand where you have went wrong, why you have went wrong, and start and then you keep on working on that particular area. So this will be, analyzing the previous year question paper will be the most learning experience with respect to the prelims preparation. All right, so now these are actually the important aspects that will actually help you to streamline your general preparation in a very effective manner. Now coming to the second part, we shall discuss the tips and tricks, strategies and techniques for solving prelims question. Now we have listed 5 important techniques. One is Rotten Tomato and Possibility Enhancer. 2 is statement consistency, 3 is conflicting statements, 4 is common sense and intuition, and 5 is linguistic deductions. Now, one thing you need to keep in mind is there is no single strategies towards success. You need to prepare thoroughly, practice well, and use these techniques as a guidelines to make intelligent guess in the examination. Now, you know that the competition in prelims is increasing and each and every mark is important or crucial. So, we shall discuss in details the few tips and techniques which are listed here, and these tips and techniques will help you to recognize right answer from the given choice without prior knowledge regarding a particular topic. Okay, that is what we are talking about, and we talk about intelligent guessing. That means intelligent guessing is actually an art. This can be developed with time and through practice only. Getting it? So we have actually developed this pattern of intelligent guessing by analyzing the past few years question paper. Now, before starting with, we shall discuss all these techniques in detail with examples, and please note that all the examples taken here are from previous year UPSC question paper. Now, before getting in detail regarding this particular tip, you need to keep in mind the first and foremost thing is to make an intelligent guess. You need to observe examiner very carefully. You need to observe his way of thinking. That means always keep in mind that it is very difficult to devise a wrong statement because examiner needs a very strong argument to make a statement wrong to avoid controversies. Getting it? So that means it is very difficult to devise a wrong statement because there is a very much possibility that controversy arises. Examiner will always try to avoid controversies by making sure that a particular statement is completely correct or particular statement is completely wrong. Getting it? That is one thing. Second thing is we need to look for keywords in a particular question. Alright, what I am trying to say is to avoid controversies, examiner will use certain words. To make a statement completely correct or completely incorrect, we can call these words as extreme words. Alright, now if I talk about these extreme words are of two types. One is rotten tomato and second is possibility enhancer. Now what is this rotten tomato? Rotten tomato are the extreme words that is used by the examiner to make a statement completely wrong. To make a statement completely wrong, examiner will use certain words. We call it extreme words and we call it rotten tomatoes. Getting it? That means to avoid controversies, examiner use words such as drastically, enormously, completely, all. These are actually the words usually used by the examiner to make a statement completely wrong, and such a statement, that means to avoid controversies or examiner want to make sure that statement becomes completely incorrect or statement becomes incorrect in every possible way. Getting it? Such words are called rotten tomato. Now, second is possibility enhancer. What is this possibility enhancer? These are actually the words added by the examiner so that a statement becomes absolutely right. For example, examiner uses the words like may, can, some. All these are possibility enhancer in order to avoid controversies examiner wants to make sure that statement is completely correct in every possible way. Alright, so this is actually what the first technique that we are discussing here, rotten tomato and possibility enhancer. Now we shall do certain example with respect to the first technique, rotten tomato and possibility enhancer. Now the first question, which of the following is a most likely consequences of implementing unified payment interface? Now you read the question, and if you see the option D, what is option D? Direct transfer of subsidies to poor people will become very effective. Now if you see the word very effective, you know that nothing can be completely effective at any time. So very is actually what? It is a rotten tomato used by the examiner to make sure that this statement is wrong in every possible way. If the statement was subsidies to poor people becomes effective, there is some possibility. So examiner want to avoid controversies, examiner want to make sure that this particular statement is completely wrong. That is why he added the word what? Very. So this statement is wrong. Now come to statement C. FDI inflows will drastically increase. Drastically is another rotten tomato. Increase might be possible. Drastically increase, the possibility is less. So this statement is also wrong. Now statement B. Digital currency will totally replace the physical currency in about 2 decades. Totally replace. Do you think that it is possible? Total replacement of physical currency by digital currency? That is also not possible. So what you are actually doing is you are finding out the rotten tomato here. That actually helps us to eliminate B, C and D. So what is the right answer? Answer is A. Mobile wallets will not be necessary for online payment. Getting it? So what we are actually trying to do is, here we are trying to find out, we are actually analyzing the question from examiner's perspective. So rotten tomatoes are actually used, or rotten tomatoes are the words used by the examiner to make sure that statement is wrong in every possible way. Alright. Now coming to the next question. Now you read this question and try to understand or try to find out the answer. With reference to agricultural soil, consider the following statement. Now you read statement 1. A high content of organic matter in soil drastically reduces its water holding capacity. Again, drastically is a rotten tomato. So the statement is wrong. Now second, soil does not play any role in sulfur cycle. Is there no role for soil in sulfur cycle? So that means any is actually the word used by the examiner to make sure that this statement is wrong. Getting it? Because common sense says that soil plays important roles in almost all cycles, but examiner wants to avoid a controversy. Examiner wants to make sure that this statement is completely wrong in every possible way. That is the reason examiner added the word any. Now read the what? So second statement is also wrong. Now third statement, irrigation over a period of time can contribute to the salinization of some agricultural lands. If I talk about this particular word some is what? Some is a possibility enhancer. If the statement was salinization of all agricultural land, then statement would have been wrong. But some agricultural land, there is some possibility, not all agricultural land. So some is actually used by the examiner to make statement correct. Getting it? So third statement is correct, first is wrong, second is wrong, third is correct. So the answer is B, 3 only. Now read this particular question and try to find out the answer. The question is regarding most likely advantages of implementing GST. Now read statement 3. It will enormously increase the growth. Enormously. Enormously is rotten tomato. Enormously increase the growth and size of economy of India and will enable it to overtake China in near future. Near, it is also a rotten tomato. In future this may happen, but near future it is not possible. Right? Increase is possible, but not enormous increase not possible. Getting it? So this statement is wrong. Now statement 2. It will drastically reduces the current account deficit. Drastically is another rotten tomato. And will enable to increase its foreign exchange reserves. Reduce may be possible, but drastic, you know that GST is an internal tax system, and CAD, current account deficit, is related to foreign trade. So there is no direct correlation between GST and current account deficit. So you cannot say like there is drastic increase or a drastic decrease. So sometimes in some cases because of GST, trade can be better and have some effect on current account deficit. Then what happens? The statement becomes controversial. So what examiner has done? Examiner has added drastically in order to avoid controversy, to make sure that this statement is wrong in every possible way. So this is also wrong. If 2 can be eliminated, 3 can be eliminated, what is the answer? Answer is 1 only. You read the first statement. It will replace multiple taxes collected by multiple authorities and will thus create a single market in India. This is the very basic knowledge, very basic definition regarding GST. So answer is A, 1 only. Now read the next statement, next question. The question is regarding which of the following statement is or are correct regarding Smart India Hackathon 2017. Now apply the technique which we have discussed till now. First statement. It is the centrally sponsored scheme for developing every city of our country into smart cities in a decade. Do you think that it is an achievable aim? Every city into smart cities. Some cities into smart cities in a decade might be possible, but every city is not at all possible. Now second statement. It is an initiative to identify new digital technology innovations for solving the many problems faced by our country. So it is many problems. It is not all problems, many problems. So there is some possibility. So in the first reading, the statement seems okay. Now you leave that particular statement. Now come to statement 3. It is a program aimed at making all the financial transactions in our country completely digital in a decade. All the financial transactions. Not even Scandinavian countries has done this. So all the financial transaction is not possible. That too completely in a decade. In a short period of time. Getting it? So that is not achievable. So statement 3 is also wrong. If 1 and 3 wrong, A can be eliminated, C can be eliminated, D can be eliminated. So what is the answer? Answer is B, 2 only. Alright? Okay. Now coming to the next. With reference to the use of nanotechnology in health sector, which of the following statement is or are correct? Targeted drug delivery is made possible by nanotechnology. Second statement, nanotechnology can largely contribute to gene therapy. Now please note that technology based question, science and technology question, if the question is based on a particular technology, please remember that technological future possibility cannot be ignored. There is always a possibility that the future research would vindicate them. Okay, so keep in mind that it would be really hard for the examiner to devise a statement otherwise. So can in science and technology question, almost every statement with can in science and technology question, there is a high probability of getting that particular statement correct. Now if you go through these statements, first statement and second statement, both these statements indicate a possibility, right? So that means it actually indicates targeted drug delivery is made possible by nanotechnology. Nanotechnology can largely contribute to gene therapy. So there is a futuristic possibility is there. Getting it? So technological futuristic possibility cannot be ignored. So both these statements are correct. So what is the answer? Answer is C, both 1 and 2. Alright. Now coming to the next question. The last question in this particular category. It is very similar. It's a practice question, very similar to the previous question. Again, read the question. The question is regarding organic light emitting diodes and advantages of oil LEDs over liquid crystal displays. Now first statement, oil LEDs can be fabricated. Can. Roll-up displays embedded in clothing can be made using oil LEDs. Transparent displays are possible using oil LEDs. So that means in all the three statements, it is talking about futuristic possibilities. So there is always a possibility that the futuristic research would vindicate them. Understanding it? So that means the logic is very simple. For a possibility to be considered wrong, it needs strong backing. You might never know that a particular research or a particular article might talk about this possibility. The next day this question appeared in the examination. Getting it? So these three statements shows futuristic possibility. So the answer is 1, 2 and 3. Alright. So we have done with the first technique, rotten tomato and possibility enhancer. So in this, while applying this particular technique, you need to actually look for the keywords. Rotten tomatoes like enormously, drastically, all, any, etc. And possibility enhancers such as can, some, many, etc. Because these are actually the extreme words which are added by the examiner to make the statement completely correct or completely incorrect. Alright. Now coming to the second. The second is statement consistency. So statement consistency, I will explain statement consistency with an example. Now you read this particular statement. Consider the following statement. Human capital formation as a concept is better explained in terms of a process which enables first, individuals of a country to accumulate more capital. Second, increasing the knowledge, skill levels, capacities of the people of the country. Third, accumulation of tangible wealth. And 4, accumulation of intangible wealth. Now, tangible wealth. What is tangible wealth? Tangible wealth means what? It can be money, it can be capital, it can be gold. All these are tangible wealth. What about intangible wealth? Tangible wealth means what? Measurable wealth. Intangible wealth means wealth which cannot be seen. It can be what? Skill, knowledge about a particular software. All these are intangible wealth. Now you compare statement 1 and statement 3. Statement 1 talking about individuals of a country to accumulate more capital, accumulation of tangible wealth. That means 1 and 3 are consistent to each other. If 1 is right, 3 should also be right. Now if you compare 2 and 4, 2, increasing the knowledge, skill levels, capacities. 4 is accumulation of intangible wealth. 2 and 4 are consistent. If 2 is correct, 4 also should be correct. Now the only task which is left out is you have to find out the options which meets this particular criteria. 1 and 2, no. 2 only. If 2 is there, 4 also should be there. 1, 3, 4, no. So what is the right answer? Right answer is 2 and 4 only. So statement consistency means you are actually trying to find out the consistent statement, so that a particular statement is correct, there is every possibility that the other statement is also correct. Okay, the both statement will go together only. Getting it? So that is called statement consistency. Now coming to the next example. With reference to UN Habitat in United Nations program working towards a better urban future, which of the following statement is or are correct? You read all the statements and try to find out the answer. First statement, UN Habitat has been mandated by United Nations General Assembly to promote socially and environmentally sustainable towns and cities, to provide adequate shelter for all. Now you read third statement. UN Habitat contributes to overall objectives of United Nations system to reduce poverty, to promote access to safe drinking water, sanitation, etc. Statement 3 talking about what? Poverty, sanitation, safe drinking water. All these are actually what? All these are part of social development. First statement is what? Socially and environmentally sustainable towns. That means what? 1 and 3 seems consistent, or I can say 3 can be a part of 1, a subcategory of 1. That means if 1 is there, 3 should also be there. If 1 is correct, 3 is also correct. Okay, so 1 and 3, so that means C and D you can eliminate. You are left out with 2 options, 1, 2, 3 and B, 1 and 3 only. Now read the second statement. Its partners are either governments or local urban authorities only. Only is the key word, it is the rotten tomato. That means this is a particular program only has actually restricted the objective or restricted the scope of this particular program. So there is every possibility that statement 2 is wrong. This is a rotten tomato. So what is the answer for this? The answer is 1 and 3 only, B. Now coming to the next question. The question is about the economics of ecosystem and biodiversity. Which of the following statement is or are correct? Now you compare second statement and third statement. Read each word of 2 statements. Second statement talks about drawing attention to economic benefits of biodiversity. Third statement, it presents an approach that can help decision makers recognize, demonstrate and capture the value of ecosystem and biodiversity. That means what? Both the statements convey same meaning. Alright, so that means either 2 of them should be correct or both should be wrong. Now if you see the options, there is no possibility that both should be wrong. So we can assume that both statements are correct. So that actually delete 2 options. We have left with C and D. Now the first one, it is an initiative hosted by UNEP, IMF and World Economic Forum. So that requires knowledge. So what I am trying to say is, using statement consistency technique, at least you can eliminate some options. Getting it? I already told you there is no single method or single strategy towards success. It's a intermix of everything. You should have a threshold level of knowledge, plus you can use various techniques. The combination of all these techniques that will actually help you to either eliminate a few options, or in some cases you can arrive at the right answer. Alright. So in this particular question, first statement is actually wrong. I told you that's a basic fact. So if the first statement is wrong, what is the answer? Answer is C, 2 and 3 only. Now coming to the next. Which of the following is or are the possible consequences of heavy sand mining in riverbeds? Now the question is consequences of heavy sand mining. You know that heavy sand mining is something bad, right? So consequences of something bad, it should have negative consequences. Now if you see statement 3, lowering of water table. Statement 2, pollution of groundwater. Both are negative connotation. If something is bad, consequences cannot be positive. So that is what? These two are negative consequences. It is consistent with the question. Here we are actually checking not the consistent between the statement, consistent between the question as well as the statement. Okay. Now you read statement 1, decreased salinity in the river. You know that a river is a fresh water source. So decreased salinity is something positive. Here it is possible consequences of heavy sand mining. Heavy sand mining is something negative. Getting it? So what you can, decreased salinity is what? Decreased salinity is something positive. Getting it? So that means you can eliminate the first option. You can go with what? The second and third option. So that means answer is B, 2 and 3 only. Okay. Now coming to the last question of this particular segment, or this of statement consistency. With reference to agriculture in India, how can the technique of genome sequencing often seen in news can be used in immediate future? Please note that in science and technology question, UPSC not expecting a scientist knowledge here. Now you read statement 1, genome sequencing can be used to identify genetic markers for disease resistance and drought tolerance in various crop plants. Not all crop plants. So there is every possibility that this statement is correct. Now you read statement 3. It can be used to decipher host pathogen relationship in crops. Host pathogen relationship. Pathogen, disease making. Host pathogen linked with disease resistance. So do you feel any consistency between statement 1 and statement 3? Yes. Getting it? Or it can be used to decipher. So this statement can be, this question can be solved either by using statement consistency or by using rotten tomato and possibility enhancer. You have possibility enhancer here and here. So every possibility that these two statements are correct. Getting it? Or 1 and 3 are consistent with each other. So if 1 and 3 are consistent, you can leave out two options. You are done. We are finally with two options, C and D. 1 and 3 only, 1, 2, 3. Now second statement, this techniques helps in reducing the time required to develop new varieties of crop plants. Second statement, it's a very general statement, and if I talk about genome sequencing, biotechnology, genetic engineering, all these are having what? Application in crops. And also statement is very general application. Application in science and technology question has got every possibility to get that statement correct. Getting it? So 1 and 3 is what? 1 and 3 either using by possibility enhancer or by using statement consistency. That means if disease resistance is there, host pathogen relationship is also there. And 2 is a very general application. So answer is 1, 2 and 3. Getting it? So what I am trying to say is these techniques or these methods will actually help you. You cannot, I am not saying like you can solve or you can get all the answers correct by using this technique. For application of these techniques or every technique which is discussed in this particular session, you need to have minimum knowledge. You should have basic concepts, or you should have conceptual clarity. So that threshold level of knowledge is there, then only you will be able to apply these techniques. And these techniques will actually help you to eliminate options, or you can say like, okay, this statement is no way, this statement is wrong in every possible way, or there is a possibility that okay, this statement is correct. So that will actually help you to eliminate option and arrive at the right answer. Done. So we have done with the first two techniques. The first one which we discussed was the rotten tomato and possibility enhancer, where we are actually talking about, we are actually looking for the extreme words to make that is added by the examiner to make sure that the statement is correct or incorrect. And the second is statement consistency. We are actually looking for consistency between the statements, or consistency between the question as well as the statements. Getting it? So consistency between the statements. If two statements are consistent, either both of them should be correct or both of them should be wrong. Getting it? Now coming to the next one, conflicting statements. Now read the question. The FAO accords the status of globally important agricultural heritage system to traditional agricultural system. What is the overall goal of this initiative? Now, if I talk about a particular program, or if we talk about a particular scheme, two things you have to keep in mind. One is the outcomes of these schemes are always positive. Second is the objectives of these schemes should be broader. Schemes always have broader objectives and positive outcome. Now here we are using the technique conflicting statements. That means we are actually looking for contradiction between the statements. The logic is, if one statement is correct, the other statement should be wrong. Alright. Now read the first statement. To provide modern technology, training in modern farming methods and financial support to local communities of identify GIAHS so as to greatly enhance their agricultural productivity. Now question is regarding traditional agricultural system. Statement 1 talks about modern technology. Both are conflicting. Now if you read statement 2, to identify and safeguard eco-friendly traditional farm practice and their associated landscapers, agricultural biodiversity and knowledge systems of local communities. Traditional farm practice. Question talks about what? Agricultural heritage system. Heritage, traditional agricultural system. So there is every possibility that statement 2 can be correct. Now if you see statement 1 and statement 2, 1 talking about modern technology, 2 mentioning about traditional farm practice, that means what? 1 and 2 are contradictory. And the question heritage given with the traditional farm practices. So that means what? 1 and 2 contradictory, either one should be correct, not both the two. Now if I talk about statement 3, to provide geographical indication status to all the varieties of agricultural produce in such identified GIAHS, to all the agricultural produce. All is a rotten tomato. Getting it? So that means, is it possible to give GI status to all agricultural produce? No. So statement 3 is wrong. Statement 3 is wrong. 1 and 2, either of these statements are correct. So statement 3 is wrong means A, C, D. There itself you are getting the right answer. Answer is B, 2 only. Alright. Now coming to the next question. Substitution of steel for wooden plows in agricultural production is an example of. You read the options: labor augmenting technological progress, capital augmenting technological progress, capital reducing technological progress, none of the above. Now if you see B and C, compare B and C. B and C are opposite to each other. One is capital augmenting, second is capital reducing. Now, so these two are opposite to each other. So I would recommend you to mark any one of them, even if you don't know the answer. Don't leave this question, because chance of any of this option correct is very high. Getting it? So if there is two conflicting statements in the options, mark any of those statements as answer. Now apply some logic in this particular question. Substitution of steel for wooden plow. You know that steel is more expensive than wood. So that means what? More capital is required. So what is the answer? It is capital augmenting technological progress. So answer is B. Now coming to the third question. An increase in bank rate generally indicates. Now if you carefully read the options, you can see that option C talking about easy money policy, option D talking about tight money policy, both these are opposite to each other. C and D are opposite to each other. So you can narrow down your selection to answer choice that are completely opposite to one another. So chance of any of them right is 50%. Even if you don't know the answer, I would recommend you to write, or I would recommend you to attempt this particular question. Now use common sense. Bank rate increases, interest rate increases for deposits and loans. So if interest rate increases for deposits and loans, the access to loan for corporates, easy or tight? It is tight. So what is the answer for this? Answer is D. Central bank is following a tight money policy. Now next, conflicting statement, question 4. Now you read the question and try to find out the answer. As per the Right to Education Act, to be eligible for appointment as a teacher in state, a person would be required to possess the minimum qualification laid by the concerned State Council of Teacher Education. Now you read statement 2. As per the Right to Education Act, for teaching primary classes, a candidate is required to pass a teacher eligibility test conducted in accordance with the National Council of Teacher Education guidelines. Now if you compare these two statements, the logic is the qualification is actually laid down by concerned State Council of Teacher Education, and the exam is conducted by National Council of Teacher Education. So that means eligibility is given by one entity, exam conducted by other entity. If you read it carefully, you can understand that eligibility is given by a lower authority and exam is conducted by a higher authority. That is not a valid logic. Getting it? Exam conducted by higher authority, but qualification is laid down by lower authority. So that means 1 and 2 should not go together. Both are contradictory. So you should not have 1 and 2. Okay. Now you read statement 3. In India, more than 90% of teachers' education institutions are directly under the state government. 90%. 90% is too much higher number, right? 90%. So this statement is wrong. Now if this statement is wrong, you can eliminate D and C. Now you are left out with what? You are left out with options A and B, but you know that A is 1 and 2, but 1 and 2 are contradictory, should not go together. So what is the probable answer? What is the right answer? Answer is B, 2 only. Now last question in this particular category. This was 2019 prelims question. Question with respect to management of minor minerals in India. Now read statement 2 and statement 3. Statement 2. State governments have the power to grant mining license of minor minerals, but the powers regarding the formation of rules related to grant of minor minerals lies with central government. So power lies with central government. What is statement 3? State governments have the power to frame rules to prevent illegal mining. So here the power with state government. So statement 2 and 3 are contradictory. One talks about rules lies with central government, second talking about rules lies with state government. Getting it? So means 2 and 3 should not go together. So B can be eliminated, D can be eliminated. So you are left out with what? A and C. So by using this conflicting statement method, you narrow down your choice, or you are able to eliminate two options. You are left out with two options only, A or C. Now read statement 1. Sand is a minor mineral according to prevailing law in the country. It's a knowledge, it's a fact. So the logic here is, by and large, non-metallic minerals falls under minor category. So with that logic, I can say statement 1 is correct. So answer is A, 1 and 3 only. So what I am trying to say is conflicting statement, or I can say like statement consistency, rotten tomato and possibility enhancers. These are actually the methods that will actually help you to eliminate a few options. Getting it? So that you can actually what? There is a high chance, high probability that you can arrive at the right answer. Alright. So conflicting statements, you have to look for statements which are contradictory to each other, and that means either of these statement is correct. Both statements should not go together. Getting it? Now coming to the next, common sense and intuition. Now please understand that the questions which you have never heard can be attempted with common sense. So for this, what you need to do is you have to read the question with an open mind. You have to think it like a normal human, and you can apply the logic. Okay, that is one thing. Second thing is you need to interlink. After reading the question, don't limit yourself that this question is from a particular topic which you have not read. Try to relate with some other topic, or try to be logical and try to apply all your knowledge to eliminate the options. Okay, and in this particular question, don't make any blind guess, try to make smart guess, educated guess. Okay, so keeping in mind, you read the first question. First question regarding initiative for nutritional security through intensive millet promotion. Millets, you know that millets are generally produced by poor farmers or small farmers. Now, I told you this question related to schemes or the objectives of schemes, programs, they should be broader and the outcomes are always positive, right? Now you read the second statement, poor, small, marginal and tribal farmers have larger stake in this scheme. So this statement seems correct because millets generally produced by poor, small, tribal farmers. So 2 seems to be correct. Now you read statement 3. An important objective of the scheme is to encourage farmers of commercial crops to shift to millet cultivation by offering them free kits of critical inputs of nutrients and micro irrigation equipments. So commercial crops to millet cultivation. Apply your common sense here. Commercial crops, you know that it brings more profit to farmer who do it. So there is no rationale in encouraging the farmer to shift from commercial crop to millet cultivation. Getting it? So apply the common sense. So with that logic, I can say statement 3 is wrong. If statement 3 is wrong, B can be eliminated, D can be eliminated. Now read statement 1. This initiative aims to demonstrate the improved production, post-harvest technology, demonstration of value addition techniques in an integrated manner with cluster approach. That means what? Statement 1, objectives, broader objectives, apply common sense, has got every possibility to be correct. Okay, so what is the answer for this? Answer is C, 1 and 2 only. Now coming to the second question. Which one of the following best describes the main objective of seed village concept? Read statement A. Encouraging the farmers to use their own farm seeds and discouraging them to buy the seeds from others. Does it sound logical? To use their own farm seeds. Then why government have so many schemes to increase the availability of seeds? Getting it? So that means this statement is wrong. Now you read statement C. Earmarking some villages exclusively for production of certified seeds. That means a particular village providing only seeds. Doesn't sound logical, right? So you can eliminate A and C with help of common sense. Now you are left out with B or D. So B and D. So what I am trying to say is, using common sense, even if you don't know anything, even if you have not heard about this particular concept, seed village concept, at least use your basic knowledge, use your common sense, so that you can actually you can eliminate two options. Now you have got 50% chance, right? So answer, so what I am saying is, this will actually help you to eliminate the answer. Now what is the answer for this? The answer is B. And also if you read B and D, if you read it very carefully, so you will feel that option B is the most sensible option. Okay, even that is not the case, at least you can you can narrow down your selections between B as well as D. So answer here is B. Now next question, which are the following aims of digital India? Try to use common sense and try to find out the answer. Read statement 2. Establish a policy framework to encourage overseas multinational corporations that collect big data to build their large data centers within our national geographical boundaries. Overseas multinational corporations as a part of our plan, Digital India plan, doesn't seem correct. Getting it? So that means the statement is wrong. Now next, C. Connect many of our villages, it is not all, many, to internet and bring Wi-Fi to many of our schools, public places, major tourist centers. So many is there, many is actually what? It's a possibility enhancer, so statement seems right. Third is right. Okay, if statement 3 is right, statement 2 is wrong. 2 is wrong means A, C, D you can eliminate. What is the left out option? Option is B, 3 only. Getting it? Now next, which of the following are some important pollutants released by steel industry in India? This type of question examiner repeatedly asks in the prelims. So first one is oxides of sulfur, oxides of nitrogen, carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide. Here the logic is, chance of emission of a particular pollutant is more than not emitting a particular gas unless the given option is that much extreme. Getting it? So that means the chance of emission of a particular pollutant is more. So in this question, there is always high probability that high probability of emission of a particular pollutant or a gas from a particular industry. So in this question, unless the option is that much extreme, the most probable answer will be all of the above. Okay. So here answer is D, 1, 2, 3 and 4. With the same logic, if you read this particular question, similar kind of question, another UPSC question. Due to improper or indiscriminate disposal of old and used computers or their parts, which of the following are released into environment as e-waste? Now, once you see plutonium here, plutonium, you know plutonium is radioactive and hence cannot be used in day-to-day computer electronic items. So with that logic, with that logic you can eliminate 7. So if you can eliminate 7, what is the answer? A, C and D you can eliminate. What is the answer? Answer is B, 1, 2, 3, 5 and 6. So these type of questions can be solved with the help of logic. Chance of emission of a particular pollutant is more, has got higher probability than a particular pollutant not getting emitted unless there is something extreme given in the option, as plutonium given in this particular question. Alright. Now the last question of this particular segment. This was 2019 prelims question regarding hydrogen enriched CNG. Hydrogen enriched CNG as fuel for buses in public transport. Consider the following statement. So in the context of proposal, that means what? That means this is going to be a new technology, right? New technology, you know that always what? Emissions will be less and also price will be high for new technology. Now read the first statement. Main advantage of use of HCNG is the elimination of carbon monoxide emissions. Elimination is what? It is a rotten tomato. If the statement was reduction, there is every chance that statement 1 is correct, but it is elimination. You know that elimination is not completely possible. You can reduce. Getting it? So elimination is a rotten tomato, so you can actually what? Statement 1 is wrong. If statement 1 is wrong, A and D can be eliminated. Now you read second statement. HCNG as fuel reduces carbon monoxide and hydrocarbon emissions. So it talks about reduces, so there is a possibility. New technology, emissions will be less. So 2 seems correct. Then itself you have arrived the right answer. Answer is B, 2 and 3 only. Now if you want to confirm, you read statement 4. HCNG makes the fuel less expensive than CNG. I told you new technology, price will be higher. So this statement is wrong. So that means even if you have not heard about hydrogen enriched CNG, you can arrive at the right answer. Getting it? That means very basic knowledge. You can use the common sense and you can use the elimination techniques to arrive at the right answer. Getting it? So answer is B, 2 and 3 only. Now coming to the last segment, linguistic deductions. Till now we have done with rotten tomatoes and possibility enhancers. We are talking about extreme words. Statement consistency, you are looking for the consistent statement so that both statements are correct or wrong. Then you have contradictory, conflicting statements. Conflicting statements in the sense you cannot, if two statements are contradictory, then there is no possibility that both of them should be correct. Either one of them can be correct or wrong. Now if I talk about the next one, we talked about common sense and intuition. With a very basic knowledge, with what? With wider thinking process, you can actually what? You can actually arrive at the right answer, or you can eliminate options and arrive at the right answer. Now the last segment is linguistic deductions. This is the least utilized one, but I just want you to know that there is something you can use, or you can looking at the words, phrases, meaning of the words and phrases, looking at the language given in a particular question, language of a particular question, you can actually at least eliminate a few options. This cannot be applicable in almost this is the least applicable one. It is not applicable with almost all the questions, but in some cases this might be helpful. In some cases, in some statements. Now let us see it with examples. With reference to Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana, consider the following statement. Now Kaushal Vikas, what is Kaushal Vikas? Kaushal Vikas is skill development. So even if it is skill development, there is a ministry called Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship. So there is a high probability that this scheme is under what? Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship. Getting it? Now it, among other things, will also impart training in soft skills, entrepreneurship, financial and digital literacy. I told you scheme, it is what? It's a positive statement. Its an outcome is positive, seems correct. It aims to align the competency of unregulated workforce of the country to national skill qualification framework. Again, seems it's positive, seems correct. So what I am trying to say is, you can, looking at the words, phrases that actually hold the clue for arriving at the right answer. So I just want to make you know that, we can actually arrive at the right answer by looking at the language or meaning of the words given in the question. So first statement, it is a flagship scheme of Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship, not Ministry of Labor and Employment. And this is one way of making statement wrong by examiner, changing the authority. Now second and third statement seems correct. So answer is C, 2 and 3 only. Getting it? Now other examples, similar examples. So I am not going to explain these examples. So the only objective is what? Look at the word, look at the meaning of the word and try to understand if there is any clue. What is the aim of Unnat Bharat Abhiyan? Unnat means what? Unnat means higher. Now you see, connecting institutions of higher education. Getting it? So this holds the clue. So what is the answer? Answer is B. Okay, this might not be correct in all the cases, but I just want to let you know that we can actually arrive at right answer using using linguistic deductions. The term Ind Arc, sometimes seen in the news, is the name of Ind Arc. It is what? India plus Arctic. So what is the answer? The answer is India's underwater observatory to scientifically study of Arctic region. Okay, so linguistic deductions are the you cannot apply it majorly for all the questions, but might be helpful for you to at least in eliminating a particular statement or arriving at the right answer. Okay, so we have done with almost all the techniques, almost all the tips. The first 4 is most widely used, and that will actually definitely help you to solve a few questions in the coming prelims 2020 also, because every year if you analyze the question paper, you can see that at least 8 to 10 questions can be solved by using any of these techniques. Linguistic technique is the least used one, but that will also help you to eliminate options. So please keep in mind that there is no single strategy towards success. You need to practice, or you need to prepare thoroughly. You should have a threshold level of knowledge. You need to practice it well and use these techniques as a guidelines to make intellectual guess in the examination. Okay, so don't take these methods as a thumb rule, because everything changes according to the question. So use your basic knowledge and use your wisdom to solve the questions. I can give you one example here. In the first technique, the rotten tomato and possibility enhancer, I told you the statements with drastically, enormously, there is high probability that these statements might be wrong. But I'll give you one example. Now if you see this particular statement, it was also asked in UPSC. This statement was actually picked up from previous year UPSC question paper only. Foreign exchange reserve increased enormously since liberalization, privatization and globalization. Foreign exchange reserve increased enormously since LPG. Enormously. Rotten tomato. But in this particular case, you cannot say the statement is wrong, because it's a basic knowledge, basic fact on economics, that the foreign exchange reserve have enormously increased since LPG. So that means, please keep in mind that extreme statements are usually wrong, but it doesn't mean that for all the statement which has enormously in that, it is always wrong. So you have to use your logic, you have to use your wisdom, you have to use your basic knowledge also, along with this particular tips, then only you can arrive at the right answer. Okay, so one thing I want to emphasize is, please note that strategies are not a substitute to knowledge. Majority of the questions you need to get fundamentals correct, because without the basics no strategy will work. So have the conceptual clarity, try to apply these techniques and to arrive at the right answer. Getting it? And also please note that it is through practice only, because these skills can be developed with time and through practice only. So practice is the key. It cannot be developed all of a sudden. So what I would recommend is, go through each and every technique discussed in this particular session, and once you encounter a question, try to apply. In some questions can be solved with any of these techniques. Some questions you may use the combination of these techniques. Some questions actually what? With the help of basic knowledge plus combination of these techniques. So it is all of intermix. So practice, so please note that practice is the key, and these techniques, tips can be developed with time and practice only. Getting it? So in the coming days, what I would suggest is just keep reading, just solve maximum number of questions, try to practice these techniques. I'm sure that you will definitely clear Prelims 2020. Wish you all the best. Thank you.